Oh, yeah. Who is ready to party? It is December 31st, 2022, and from the home studio in Middletown, Delaware, I'm Marshal Manlove from Delaware Sports and My Sports Reports. Yeah, I'll be partying all the way up to like 9:15 tonight. Yeah. Big day here. Lots of excitement planned in the home studio in Middletown, Delaware. This is our year-end show. The show is dedicated to recapping my favorite stories I covered throughout this year. They might not necessarily be the stories of the year, and naturally, everyone has their own. If you join me and work with me in 2023, we can produce your favorite year-end stories. To do so, reach out to me at mysportsreports@gmail.com. I can only talk about what I know to have happened and saw and what was interesting or noteworthy for me this year. This isn't meant to be all-inclusive either. You can always go to delawaresports.com to see more. If you go to the news section there, you'll find all of the milestones reached by local athletes, honors, records earned throughout the year, and everything else that I covered throughout 2022. It's kind of like a blog. And what you see in any of these videos is that blog. I just post up stuff there. Click on delawaresports.com. Pop it in the video. Look at the pictures and read stuff. That's what we do here. Pretty simple. But if you join me, and you would like to provide your technical expertise to improve the production quality of these shows, just reach out to me at mysportsreports@gmail.com. I will happily include you. So what stood out for me in 2022? Woodbridge High School senior Ian Hayes had success in the fall season like no other in recent Delaware high school sports history. Hayes won postseason honors in 3 different sports for just this one particular season. He earned all district honors as a kicker for the football team and won all state honors in soccer and in cross country. So there are athletes who succeed in 2 sports and earn honors in one season. This is 3. That's pretty amazing. So that stood out to me. And he was one of the first interviews that we had back in 2021 when we launched this show. I keep saying we like there's anyone else involved. It's just me. And by the way, I'm going to drink coffee throughout this show because that's what I do. Let's move forward. Cape Henlopen wins their first ever Division I dual meet state wrestling championship. They went through Smyrna in the semifinals and then beat Cesar Rodney 43-26 in the championship match. We interviewed them as well. Any show that I mentioned you can find on all of our channels. You can start with YouTube there, of course, but Rumble, Getter, Patreon, etc. The list of all the platforms on which we show these videos is at the beginning of this video. Smyrna's Gabe Giampetro and Caravel's Alex Poor both became 4-time Delaware State Wrestling individual champions. There's a picture of Gabe Giampetro. And there's Alex Poor on top of the winner's podium at the individual state wrestling championships. Caravel head girls basketball coach Kristen Caldwell cuts the last rope on the net at the Bob Carpenter Center in Newark as the Buccaneers won their first ever state championship 53-47 in overtime against the Sanford Warriors. Gatorade Player of the Year for Delaware, India Johnston, scored 27 points, including 7 of Caravel's 10 points in overtime. Kristen Caldwell, her maiden name was Mills. She was a star basketball player at Caravel, scoring over 2,000 points in her career. Stayed in state, came back, coached the team 16 years. Smile, deserved, and earned there. St. Elizabeth's Quasim Benson added 30 more touchdowns to his career total for the Viking football team this fall, pushing his career mark to 75. It's amazing. I don't know how that stands. I can't find anyone to help me get that particular record, but 75, that's a lot. Has to be up there, top 5 or 10 all time here in Delaware. He also set new school records on the track and field team in the long jump with a leap of 20 feet 8 inches, 6 inches better than the previous mark, and was part of a new school record breaking 4x400 meter relay team for the Vikings. Conrad's Kayla Dillon scored 13 goals in a lacrosse game against Newark in a 20-4 win for the Red Wolves. Dillon's 13 goals in a game landed her on the NFHS record book for goals in a game. Wasn't the most, but it was on that top list. She then beat that mark with 14 goals in a game against Brandywine. That was the 4th best in a game in NFHS recorded history. Tatnall graduate Sam Parsons returned home in a publicized attempt to break the 4-minute mile. His 3:58.17 did just that and became a new state record here in Delaware. Appoquinimink softball pitcher Savannah Laird was involved in 6 no-hitters on the mound for the Jaguars in 2022. She combined with Ayla McCathern on 4 of them and had 1 solo no-hitter and a perfect game to help lead her team to the semifinal round of the state tournament. Tatnall senior Lydia Colasante was a state champion and Gatorade Player of the Year in cross country as a freshman. She turned her focus toward field hockey and lacrosse, earning first team All-State honors in both sports. She celebrated her 200th career goal for the Hornet lacrosse team this year and also earned a roster spot on the USA national team for her age group. We spoke with her and Rachel Whitehead from the field hockey team. We'll talk about her in a little bit as well. This is brought to you by me, Marshal Manlove, stage hypnotist. If you would like a funny, fascinating, and memorable experience for a party or an event that you are having in 2023 or 2024, find out all about my stage hypnosis show at MarshallManlove.com. And special thanks go out to the folks at Jazzercise in Middletown. One of the proprietors there runs a very active Facebook group page for parents of high school athletes. They are kind enough to post up links to the videos that I produce in that group page. I'm so happy that they do that. So I'm happy to talk about them. Back to highlights of 2022. And speaking of Delawareans on national rosters, 3 Del Mar Wildcat field hockey players are on Team USA field hockey. Josie Holloman is on the U18 and U.S. national team, which just competed in Argentina. The national team is the one that's looking to qualify for the Olympics. Jordan Holloman, Josie's sister, is a sophomore. She's on the U16 national team. And we can't have a video complete without video freezing. Here. There we go. Not a highlight of 2022. Macy Bradford is on the U18 team. I mentioned Rachel Whitehead from Tatnall. She is also on the U18 USA team. Smyrna's Drew Moffitt is also on the U18 team. So this area, Delaware, parts of Maryland, southeastern Pennsylvania, is a hotbed for field hockey. We place more Division I athletes in field hockey as a percentage than any other sport, specifically here in Delaware. So I was a little surprised then that Del Mar bulldozed their way to their 7th straight Delaware Field Hockey Championship. They haven't lost a game since October 22nd, 2016, and in that year they were 14-1. The Wildcats under head coach Jody Holloman outscored their opponents 140-5 in the regular season and 27-2 in the state tournament. That's in 3 games. 2 of the regular season wins were against their longtime rivals, the defending Division I champs from Cape Henlopen, who they beat in the Henlopen Conference Championships, and a 6-0 win over Smyrna, who became the Division I champion. We'll talk about that here shortly as well, because that stood out for me. Macy Bradford was the Offensive Player of the Year. She had a 7-goal game during the regular season, which landed her on the NFHS record book list for goals in a game. She scored 49 goals for the Wildcats just this year alone. That's in 19 games. Josie Holloman was named the Defensive Player of the Year, but she also added 31 goals and had 22 assists. Jordan Holloman scored 9 of the Wildcats' goals in the state tournament, including 5 in the first round. She scored 43 goals and had 17 assists this year. That was as dominant a team as we have seen here in the state of Delaware, at least in the almost 30 years I've been covering it. Mentioned the Smyrna Eagles. They beat Cape Henlopen for the Division I Field Hockey Championship, ending a 5-year stranglehold that the Vikings held on trophies in that division. A diving shot by Kirsten Johnson off an assist from Drew Moffitt in overtime earned the Eagles their first ever Delaware Field Hockey Championship. Only the Vikings or the Delmar Wildcats had laid claim to state championship honor since 2011. It was head coach Levita Moffitt's first championship in 2 tries in a title game, with the first being with William Penn in 2006. Cape Henlopen Vikings won their 13th straight Delaware Girls Lacrosse Championship, beating the Tatton Hornets 16-4 in the final game. They have now won 40 consecutive state tournament games and 165 straight wins against Delaware opponents. Their last loss was in 2009 to a Delaware team. Tough to argue that they aren't one of the most dominant teams in high school sports history here in Delaware, too. Salesianum won their 18th state boys soccer state championship under head coach Scott Mosier. They've only been denied the state championship twice since 2004, and we interviewed them after their state title. And I think we're going to talk to them again. Leading the Sows to the title again this year was Jake Ross. He was named a National All-American for the second year in a row. 2 football teams went undefeated and claimed class championships this year. The Laurel Bulldogs, under head coach Joey Jones, repeated as Class 1A champions. After scoring just 31 points in their first game of the season, they didn't score less than 40 all year long, up until the point where they faced St. Elizabeth's in the state championship game and just scored 28 points, winning 28-13. And there goes the video again. It's frightening. It should be the Halloween show. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that joke. Wilmington Friends captured the Class 2A title, and similarly, I knew I was going to mess up that word. It's a tough word. Let's see. I have a tough time with that word. Let's try it again. Wilmington Friends captured the Class 2A title in similarly convincing fashion. Yes, I got through it. First-year head coach Rob Tattersall took over for his father, Bob Tattersall, who won the only other previous Quaker football crown back in 1984. Now, Rob started planning the positions the seniors on this team were going to play back in 3rd grade. And his son, Robbie, was the quarterback who earned Offensive Player of the Year's year honors. And we just talked to them, and you can find that interview where he told that story later on in the interview. A long time in the making, that championship. The Tatnall boys cross country team won the Division II state championship. This marked the 17th time the head coach Pat Castagno has guided the boys to this particular championship. He now has a total, Pat Castagno, of 51 championships as head coach of the Hornet cross country, boys and girls, indoor and outdoor track teams, boys and girls. He is in the top 10 all time of high school coaches who have won championships. Now, one of those is a tie, so there's a little bit of a dispute about one of those particular championships. So I believe this is the 51st with the tie. If not, it's the 50th, and a new milestone. It's a picture of Pat. The Hillers of Tower Hill won their first ever state volleyball championship. They had a 13-2 regular season record, entered the state tournament as the number 9 seed. That meant they had to win 5 matches to earn the title. They knocked off the number 1 seed Smyrna, the number 5 seed from Caravel, and the Buccaneers were the only team to beat Smyrna all year long, prior to the Hillers, of course. And then the Hillers beat the 2-time defending champion St. Mark Spartans in straight sets in the final at the Bob Carpenter Center. We also spoke with them. You can look up that particular interview. Bill DiNardo, the Salesianum head football coach, won his 300th career game. 150 of these were with Salesianum and the other 150 with Caravel and Middletown. DiNardo has helped guide teams to 7 state championships, 3 with Middletown and 4 with Salesianum. And Delaware says farewell to the following 5 members of our athletic community, those who I've known and followed for many years. Again, this isn't supposed to be exhaustive. I know people come and go all the time. People retire all the time. These were particularly noteworthy to me because I heard the news, number one, and I knew these people. Eileen Volz is retiring from the state of Delaware after her wonderful career, in part as coach of the girls' basketball and softball teams at the Charter School of Wilmington. I mentioned Kristen Caldwell earlier. She's stepping aside after 16 years at the helm. Leave on top. That's the way to go. If you can. Not everybody can. But if you can, that's the time to do it. Best time to do it. David Stover started the Charter Force volleyball program 24 years ago, and he'll be retiring at the end of this past season. He's been part of the Delaware high school volleyball scene since 1988, winning 3 state championships with St. Mark's over the last 15 seasons. The Charter School of Wilmington coach Stover compiled a 195-64 record while qualifying for the DIAA state tournament every year. In 2018, Stover led the team to its first ever DIAA state championship. Of course, Mary Pat Quokka took over the program in 2022. This particular news happened prior to that. After 40 years at Ursuline Academy, Susan Heiss headed into retirement. She spent the last 30 years as the AD at Ursuline and was the head volleyball coach for about 30 years. As the head coach of the volleyball team, she led the Raiders to 11 Delaware state championships. Again, this news was back from June. Jen Johnson is the new volleyball coach at Ursuline. Stephanie Mark is the new AD at Ursuline. And after 34 years as the athletic director at the Sanford School in Hockessin, Joan Samaniski retired. She was the longest tenured AD in the state. During 2022, she became quite the sports photographer for the school for the past few years as well, capturing special moments for school's athletes that can be seen all over the Warriors memory boards. So that was a look at, let's see who we're going to focus our attention on. What's my favorite story? I think my favorite story here is the one that I led off with here. The Delmar Wildcats were a fantastic story because of how dominant they were, but this kid right here, Ian Hayes, postseason honors in 3 different sports. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Delaware, Maryland, or Pennsylvania, please consider using me to help you out. Find out about my real estate doings at marshallmanlove.foxroach.com. I want to give special thanks out to my wonderful and beautiful wife, Dawnie M., my friends Joey V., Tommy K., supporters of this particular incarnation of the show since its first day. I appreciate that. If you'd like to join me in 2023, please reach out to me, mysportsreports@gmail.com. I'd like to wish everyone a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2023. And I hope that you will continue to support the show simply by liking the videos, sharing the videos, or subscribing on whatever platform you find these videos. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, time to party! All the way up to 9:15 or so today on New Year's Eve 2022. Can't wait. All right, maybe 9:30, 9:45. It's going to depend on how much coffee I get in between now and then. Happy New Year! Woohoo! Party time! Yeah! Party with some coffee. Potato chips. Get fat. And go to sleep. Miss the whole ball dropping thing. Again,